Hey guys, so we're checking out some filming locations from I Know What You Did Last Summer. Now, unfortunately, I can't get to these locations as I don't even live in the country, so that's gonna make it a bit tough to go out and film them. So this one's gonna be a virtual tour. Most of the locations from the movie were done in Southport, North Carolina. Got a couple here in California. And this is where we start, right here at the beginning of the movie. We've got David Egan sitting here at Reaper's Curve. So David Egan is sitting here on the anniversary of the death of his girlfriend, Susie Willis. In fact, I believe she was his fiancée, actually. And Susie Willis was, of course, Ben Willis, aka the fisherman's daughter. There was a car crash involving David and Susie. Susie died. David survived. So David is sitting here thinking about Susie, having a drink, and he hears something off in the distance. And this is where we get an off-screen kill. Ben Willis here kills David Egan as he blames him for killing his daughter in that car crash. And as fate would have it, the very same thing ends up happening to Ben Willis not long after this, as he gets thrown into the ocean too, so call it poetic justice or whatever. And that crash happens right here on Reaper's Curve as well, so we'll be coming back to this location, but we'll get to that in just a moment. There's a couple more scenes just before that, but that is Reaper's Curve, where they filmed that scene with David Egan. And then we come to Southport, North Carolina. This is where most of the filming locations were done. So we're here at the Southport Community Theater, as it was known in the movie, where Helen wins her pageant and becomes Croaker Queen. And also, of course, later on in the movie where Barry dies. Taking a look at it from a couple of different angles, this is the Amuzu Theater in Southport. Then we're back over in California for the next couple of scenes. So this is the scene where the group go to Dawson's Beach. We're on the coast of Northern California, and this one was shot at Schoolhouse Beach. So it'll be off in the distance there, right around that small group of rocks. That would be my educated guess on where they filmed that part. The director found part of an old ship and put it in there as set dressing. And this is where the group are recapping the legend, telling stories of the man with the hook. And from all my research I did online, I found that this was the spot where it took place. This is Schoolhouse Beach, just north of Bodega Bay, on this stretch of beach here. That's Dawson's Beach. And now the big scene, the big crash scene. Still out here on that coastline of Northern California. So this one's located just a few miles north of where we just were. This is Calmer Gulch on the Coast Highway, or Reaper's Curve as it's known in the movie. So David Egan would have been sitting just on the edge of that cliff there to the right-hand side. He's just being pushed off the cliff by Ben Willis. And then the group come back around here, driving in the car. Barry's going nuts, drinking, and this is where they hit Ben Willis, aka the fisherman. So in movie terms, at the time this crash happens, David Egan's body is somewhere just over that cliff or being washed away right at this time, right in the same location. And so I'll try to match up some shots here. Completely different, of course. In the movie, it's pitch black at night. This is very much during the daytime. A good 25 plus years have passed from the movie to these pictures. But as I say, I'll put in some shots from the movie and try to match up some parts here. And so as you see the road on the other side there way over, this is where Max would have driven down. You get a very brief look at his headlights driving down there. And then so he pulls up and enters the scene. Ironically, in this photo, there's actually a car pretty much right in the exact same position as it was in the movie. And from here, Ray convinces Max to move on. And so next up, we're going to Barry's house. It's a year later after what they've done. The rest of the locations from here on out were either filmed in Southport or around the larger Southport, North Carolina area. So we're just going to head down this little road here on the way to it. This, of course, is the scene where Julie and Helen come to visit Barry to let him know that Julie has received a note, a rather disturbing note which just says, "I know what you did last summer" on it. And so this is where the house is. We can only see the back view of it. This is a view you actually don't get in the movie. And of course the front side, it's a big, beautiful house. But this is it, Barry's house. And so now we've got 3 locations: the gym, Julie's house, and Helen's house. And I have recorded all 3 of these together just to show how close in proximity they all are. First up here is the gym, where Barry gets into an altercation with the fishermen. In real life, this is the Fishy Fishy Cafe. And so in this part here, you can see the stretch of road where the fisherman jumps in his car, chases Barry down. Right in here was the gym entrance. This is where it all happened. And this little building here, of course, is where the fisherman stands, looking down at Helen as she rides through in the parade. And as I say, all these locations here are very close together. We just come around the corner here and we actually go up to Julie's house. So let's make our way around there. And here we arrive at Julie James' house. This is Short Street in Southport, aptly named. It is a very short street. We see Julie arrive back at the house when she's coming back from college, and of course where she also receives the note from the fisherman saying, "I know what you did last summer." And so what we're going to do here is we're going to continue right around to Helen's house, which is just around the corner, and show you actually how close in proximity all these filming locations are. So let's head around there. And so this is Helen's house. Things have changed around this little area here quite a bit in the last few years since the movie's been filmed. And we'll get to that in just a minute, but this is of course where Helen and Julie pull up after visiting Missy. Helen goes into the house. Her dad, I believe, is watching a game of baseball on TV, and she pours herself a Diet Coke. And then, of course, other goings-on occur in the house with the fishermen as well. But as I say, this little corner here in particular has had a few additions to it. It used to just be big and open. It was all grass. Now several houses have been added, so it looks a bit different. But if you come right around the corner here as we go, we're going to make our way down to Brown Street. And this is, of course, the infamous crabs in the trunk scene. All happened here on this corner. And, of course, the famous line, "What are you waiting for?" happened here. You got the water tower in the back there. And so Julie freaks out, and she runs back up to Helen's house. And this is all filmed on location because Helen's house is actually just right around the corner, as I've shown you here. She grabs Helen and Barry, and they come to investigate the crabs in the trunk. But as I say, that's how close in real life those locations actually are to one another, so pretty cool. And now we are heading to Missy's house. This is Kaintuck Road in Curry, North Carolina. So we're way up north of Southport now, out in the sticks. And this is the route that the girls would have driven. They would have driven this way. And so we'll just take in some of the sights of this drive as we get to our destination. And so here it is. Here we are at Missy's house. Of course, many know this is also the house in the Conjuring movies, famously known for that. But here we are. This is Missy's house. So Helen and Julie, they drive past it just a bit when they first get to it, then they back up and come down the driveway. Now, you'll notice in the movie that the driveway is actually a lot longer than it is here. So some of that driveway scene was filmed somewhere else. I would say very nearby, just down a side road, one that we possibly passed already. And so the director here obviously wanted the driveway to seem a lot longer than it was. He wanted that effect. Because as you'll see in the movie, the driveway is a lot longer than it is here. My guess is that he did that down a side road very nearby where we are now. But this is it. Of course, Helen and Julie arrive, or should I say Angela and Jody, as they change their names. They talk to Missy, wanting to find out some information about David Egan, and this is where it all went down. And last but not least, we are heading to Shiver's department store. This is located in Burgaw, North Carolina. So again, here we're north of Southport, about 50 miles actually, and just to the northeast of Missy's house where we just were. The store is called Harold's in real life, but in the movie it was called Shiver's, owned by the Shivers family. And there is a lot that takes place here. Some of the scenes near the beginning of the movie, where Julie meets back up with Helen, tells her about the note she received, and of course the epic chase scene where Helen Shivers is escaping from the fishermen. She runs across here and over to the store, comes face to face with her sister Elsa, demands to be let in as she is running for her life, and it's actually the other door on the right hand side where her sister Elsa is eventually killed by the fishermen. And of course inside of this building is where the chase ensues, where Helen is being chased still by the fishermen. She escapes by jumping out a back window, but is eventually taken down not long after that. So there it goes, guys. There are several of the locations from the I Know What You Did Last Summer movie. As I say, most located in Southport and the larger North Carolina area, and a couple there done in California at the start of the movie. And of course, we've got the remake, the 2025 reboot of the franchise. That's got Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. in it. So very cool how they've gone back and continued the series in that way with those original characters. The third movie they did was absolute dog shit. The TV series was dog shit. But the first two movies were very good. And as I say, we've got the reboot to go with that now, with legacy characters involved. So thanks heaps, guys, for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed that one. We'll catch you next time.